Healthcare and senior care is fraught with problems and challenges, but we're also seeing some amazing new clinical treatments and resources. This show will help illuminate and uncover the good, bad, the ugly in order to equip patients, families, and other healthcare providers. Welcome to Senior Care Confidential.
Joe, I have been excited to bring this guest on for a while. So I got to meet Dr. Procter about a year and a half ago. We have a mutual client of ours, and I got introduced to this new technology. And when it was funny, when my patient first mentioned it to me, it was almost like, hey, I'm going to try this thing. And she's like, please don't tell anybody about it because I'm not so sure this is going to work. And it has been amazing to watch her level of function and her strength in her legs actually improve while having this treatment done. And so I have Dr. Procter, Brian Procter from the INtegrative Medicine in McKinney.
Hi, Dr. Procter.
Hi. And he has been partnering with a company called Neuro20, which is it looks like a wetsuit, but it's got built-in electrodes. And so it's a neuromuscular electrical stimulation unit, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And so this mutual patient we have, her name is Cheryl, but she had a stroke a year and a half or so ago, and we were to a point where we were working on getting some strength back in her leg, and her ability to extend at her knee was quite limited, where she couldn't weight bear to take a step. And so we even looked at different kind of fancy braces. I was calling companies in Canada because nobody here makes the brace I was looking for. I knew what I wanted, but I couldn't find one. So I worked with Dr. Procter. We found a company that would actually supply this brace. She hated it. And then she tried this Neuro20 thing. And within like a couple of treatments, I was like, holy smokes, her knee is actually now starting to be able to extend and bear weight on it so she can actually take steps. So anyway, so this has been a long time coming. So I'm very grateful to have Dr. Procter here with us today to kind of talk about Neuro20, what his experience has been, and what kind of patients would benefit from this kind of treatment.
Yeah,
so, Dr. Procter, so I know, give us a little bit of your background. You've been kind of more on the holistic, comprehensive side of medicine for quite some time, and this Neuro20 thing kind of, I won't say landed in your lap, but you got exposed to this within the last year or two.
Yes, we went into integrative medicine a few years back, but before that, I was just your average family practice doctor.
Okay.
But got into integrative medicine, and I've been looking for unique devices and technologies to bring into my office. But I have one stipulation: they have to work the vast majority of the time. So much more, with a much higher success rate than your average big pharma drug has.
Yes.
So most of those drugs, they show you like 20% improvement. They call that market success, and then it's $1 billion drug. So, my stipulation is things have to work like 80% of the time.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
I was approached by an ex-Army Ranger about a year ago. Actually, it was more than that. It was about 15 months ago, but I blew him off because I hate calling people back and just not a phone guy. And I
didn't have that response from you.
But I had enough respect for him. Like finally, I had it on my to-do list. So I blew him off for like 3 months, but I'd known him for 20 years. So finally I call him back. I said, all right, what's up? And he goes, you're not going to believe this. I have this suit thing and I rehabbed my hamstring with it. And I want you to look at it. And I said, okay. So we set up an appointment to do it like on a Wednesday and in 2 weeks from then. So he brings it up there and I put it on and it helped my SI joint immediately. So what it is, it's a whole body electromuscular stimulation suit with 20 electrical pads in it. And each pad is made with silver infused fiber. So linen fiber.
Okay.
So they make them overseas, I think in China. And all of it's wired to one central location, which is a clip on the belt. And then you take this box and you clip it onto the belt and you control it all wirelessly from an iPad. So like you can wear it, and as long as you're within 100 feet from the iPad, you can mow the yard, things like that. You can do whatever. So it's also a workout training device. So anybody who's doing serious training can also use it for those things. So there are 20 pads that when you turn on the device, it stimulates 44 different muscle groups in the body. So, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So, but the suit right now only goes down to the elbow and just above the knee. So it has pads for the pec muscles, deltoid, tricep, bicep, upper, lower back, abdominals, glutes, and
Hams and
your
quads.
hams and quads.
Yeah.
So it's 20 pads total. And unlike traditional TENS units where you crank it up as high as you can get it, you're only really driving about 20 milliamps of energy into the body before it gets really uncomfortable because the surface area of the pads is so small. These pads are much bigger. So when you add up all the current that you're putting through the body at any given time comfortably, most people can tolerate 200 to 400 milliamps of electricity.
Wow.
If we turned it up all the way, it'd be driving 2 full amps, 2000 milliamps into the body, which is, an electrical outlet's 5 amps. So it's a lot of energy. So you're driving so much energy into the body.
But diffused, so it's safer.
But it's diffused all over your body.
Like?
It feels like a TENS unit, but all over. So it feels great.
Yeah.
It feels great. No side effects or anything like that. So our theory is they put it on a patient. The company put it on a patient. They put them in a PET scan or something like that. And the whole brain lit up.
Yeah.
So it was like activating all kinds of things, but it's safe. I mean, you don't get a headache from it. We haven't seen any seizures or anything like that. So, but it does these incredible things. So the inventor of it used it to cure himself. He was a Gulf War vet, several tours. He had gotten injured a lot, and he used it to cure himself because he didn't want to take pain pills for the rest of his life. So he was an electrical engineer and saw them messing around with TENS unit pads in Spain and decided to come back to America and build his own suit. And so he ended up taking like 135 2x2 TENS unit pads, put them all over his body, wired it together, and turned it on and cured himself. So then he took all of those wires. So the picture of this is like wires everywhere.
Like Tony Stark.
Yeah. So then he puts all of this into a wetsuit that you wet down the pads and you put it on, and he starts wearing the thing all the time. He ended up curing himself, and he had gotten to the point where he was pretty overweight, pretty sedentary, and now he's not overweight at all. He's very active. So, but it's one of the most interesting devices I've ever seen because it seems to help everybody.
Wow.
The other thing that he figured out is different frequencies do different things. So when you, the stimulation mode is anywhere from 84 to 100 hertz. And when you do that, you're really stimulating the muscles, you're stimulating the sympathetic nervous system. So when you crank the frequency down to around 7 hertz, you're controlling more the parasympathetic nervous system.
Wow.
So because of that, not only can you control muscles, but you can control the parasympathetic things. Like a lot of people with long COVID have vagal nerve injury of the vagus nerve and start having diaphragm problems, things like that.
Yeah.
So we can control all of that with this suit, which is just pretty neat. I've never seen anything like it. So we put it on a guy with heart failure. We put it on people with strokes. The first guy I put it on was he had atypical Guillain-Barré from COVID that he got in January. Do y'all want to talk about him real quick?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So he was the first patient I put it on. It was about April 3rd of last year. So he came into the office to see me, and he's got a walker, and he's 35 years old, and he's a professional at Parkland, I think insurance or something like that. And he comes in the office with a 4-point walker with balls on it and the whole 9 yards. So the kid's 35 years old.
That's sad.
He's married, his daughter's with him. They're in dire straits. His whole family unit had crumbled in the previous 2 months. He got COVID. Within 2 weeks, he was paralyzed from the waist down. In the ensuing 6 weeks, he had taught himself how to walk again enough to use the walker, but he couldn't walk without the walker, and he couldn't stand up out of a chair without the walker or pushing on the arms. So I said, And I was in his initial eval as a new patient in the office. And I said, I think I have something that might help you walk without that. And he said, you're kidding. I said, no, I think I can probably make you walk again. He goes, and he's like, you're serious? And I said, no, I think I can make you walk without that within 20 minutes of putting it on your body. And he just started crying.
Aww.
His family was crying and, got me to cry. And I'm like, yeah, we'll do this thing. So I had him come back in 2 days. So he comes in with a walker. We put the suit on him and he starts walking around without the walker. And we have videos of that. They're on the Neuro20 website. And so he starts walking around without the walker, and he was frustrated because we kept having him sit down and stand up out of a chair, and he couldn't do it without an extreme amount of force on the arms of the chair. So at the end of this, the treatment's about 35, 40 minutes long. So at the end of it, we said, try the chair thing one more time. And he put his arms out like this, and he stood up out of the chair without touching anything, which means you got to have a lot of leg strength to do that.
Yep.
So you got to have a lot of leg coordination. Everything has to be firing.
Yeah.
So we got so much nerve recruitment in 35, 40 minutes that he was able to stand up out of the chair without touching the arms. He started crying. I started crying.
Yeah.
The rep started crying. My whole office staff was watching in a circle. They're all crying. And he's like, you just gave me my life back.
Yeah.
So he leaves carrying the walker over his shoulder. He comes back a week later with a cane. And he leaves, swinging that in the air.
So how many treatments did he
Well, he came back the third treatment with nothing. He comes back the fourth treatment. These are a week apart. He comes back the fourth treatment wearing a backpack with like 20 pounds of computer stuff in it. And then comes back the fifth week and shows us pictures of him mowing his yard again. This guy's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he thought his karate days were over.
Yeah.
And within, I think 4 or 5 months, we had him back at jiu-jitsu. And now he's got his whole life back. He's walking. He doesn't use a walker anymore. But, he probably would have gotten better if we had done nothing. But this seemed to tremendously accelerate the process.
Yeah.
So he was really the first person that we put it on. I had one of my staff had a C5, C6 disc herniation that needed surgery. And she was the one that I put it on that I couldn't believe what I saw. This is before we put it on. The guy's name's Ryan. He's on Neuro20's website. Anyway, she had so much pain and discomfort and disuse of her left upper extremity that she started having atrophy of her muscles. And she was frustrated because she's a gymnast her whole life and couldn't do a two-handed push-up anymore. She could do one-handed push-ups with her right hand. She's 40 years old. She could do one-handed push-ups with the right hand, but she can't do a two-handed push-up because she'd fall on the left side every time. So we put the suit on her, and she's a little bitty thing. And she cranks out 10 push-ups about 5 minutes later with no problem.
Wow.
So we took the suit off of her, and this is the crazy part. 4 weeks go by. At this point, I'm treating Ryan with it. But 4 or 5 weeks go by, and it was a demo unit. We hadn't, I didn't have a suit that was the right size for her to put it on again. And one day I said, hey, what's up with your neck? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, when's the last time it hurt? She goes, oh, it hurt before I put the suit on. It hadn't worked since I put the suit on it a month ago. And I said, wait a minute. You haven't had any pain since you put the suit on one time and wore it for 30 minutes. She goes, correct. And I said, and she said, and I've built back all my strength in my arm and nothing's bothering me. All the paresthesias and everything, all the neuropathy is gone. And I said, so you don't want neck surgery? And she goes, no, I'm not doing neck surgery. She had refused it already anyway. But, and I said, well, can you still do a two-handed push-up? And she got down on the ground with her lab coat on and did 10 two-handed push-ups.
Yeah.
So, and I thought it was, that's just nuts. I've never seen any type of medical rehab device with that kind of success or anything like it. So
it's pretty wild.
I mean, that could put
this is
rehabs
crazy.
out of business.
Yeah, well, there's still a component to it, but and we don't fully understand. At least I don't.
This is a device.
Yeah.
That can be used in physical therapy.
Right. In conjunction.
But you have to, or a neurology office, but you have to change the mindset of the practitioner.
Yeah.
Because it takes 10 minutes to get in and out of the suit. You wear it for 30 to 40 minutes. You've got to turn it on and all of that stuff. So door-to-door treatments in my office are 1 hour.
Yeah.
And I have a clinical nurse who's awesome. He's one of the best nurses I've ever seen. His name's Kyle, and he runs all my special projects, the IVs, all that stuff. He runs the suit, and you can attest to this.
Yeah.
Kyle's just a great guy.
Yeah.
And so Kyle does a treatment with the patient one-on-one. So he spends about an hour with you door to door. And we sell those treatments in the office for $250 a piece, or we think everybody really could benefit from at least 4 treatments. So we do packages of $800 for 4 treatments. So they get a $200 discount.
I mean, that is less than the cost of a prescription.
But we've seen all kinds of things. It is the most effective thing I've ever seen for idiopathic neuropathy. So there is a place in physical therapy for this. You just have to change their mindset. Mm-hmm. There's a place for it in chiropractor's office. They got to change their mindset. There are clientele, and they're all driven by insurance. And 30 minutes door to door, you do a couple treatments and you get rid of them. Yeah. But there are a lot of cash paying patients out there. I found this out when I went into concierge medicine, and they want things that don't involve drugs, don't involve needles, don't involve surgery, that are safe. This suit is all of those things. Mm-hmm. Because the fibers inside of it are silver, it's antimicrobial.
Yeah.
Okay.
By
this
nature.
Is amazing. And it's light too.
So it's antimicrobial. Like and this is what it looks like with it on. And over here on the belt is where you clip on this box, and then you control it. The box will do about 20 treatments before you have to recharge it. The battery lasts a long time.
Wow.
It's crazy. But what's cool is when you take this suit, you turn it inside out, it's what you see in the pads is all pretty cool. So what you do is you take it, you turn it inside out like this, and we spray it with water mixed with conditioner or like a ultrasound conductive gel stuff. Right. A solution of that and water.
And the silver on there, those are the pads.
And this is, yes. So these are the silver pads. And hold on, it's out. So you've got, this is the front of it, but it's inside out. And those are the pecs, the abdominals, and the quads.
Yep.
And then here's your bicep, deltoid, and tricep. This is the back. And that's your upper, lower back, glutes, and your hamstrings.
Yep.
So are you the only one in Texas doing this?
I'm the only doctor in the world who has taken this suit, and I was the first doctor on the planet that took this suit and put it on actual patients.
Wow.
For profit. So
outside of research.
So I was the first person who implemented the suit in a clinical setting and gave it a chance. So my staff member is crazy. She still hadn't had surgery. She does a suit treatment about maybe once every 3 months and really hasn't had much trouble with her neck.
It's wild. Let's look. We have a video actually of our mutual patient, Cheryl. Hey, Jordan, Can you pull that up for us?
One foot to the other.
You have to put your left foot down now.
Okay. Don't hold me up.
Oh.
Now step with your left. Okay.
Whoa.
Good, right? You're good. You're good. You got it. Awesome. Now you're right. You got it. Good.
You're walking. You're walking. Suits off.
So what'd you think with your first time seeing that?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to get into this suit.
So I've seen it happen like live a couple different times at Dr. Proctor's office, actually with Cheryl. And it's pretty remarkable. We were talking before, like in the intro, where she really had a hard time controlling that left knee. Like it would collapse on her all the time. Transfers were more difficult for her. We were trying to get her like even a brace that would help with like a knee extension assist type thing. And within a couple treatments of doing this, I was like, all right, I guess we don't need the brace. Yeah.
When we started with her, she could only stand for about a minute. I mean, before we ever did anything, she could only stand for about a minute with people supporting about 80% of her weight.
And all on her right side.
Yes, all on her right side. And then she was tired and she had to sit down. Yeah. We put the suit on her, which you saw in the video is that's her taking her first steps in 2 years.
Oh, that's just
and
incredible.
This is despite physical therapy every week for 2 years. Those were the first steps she took in 2 years. She took 11 steps that day. The second time we put it on her, she took like 50. The third time it was 120.
Yeah.
And after 3 or 4 months, we have our clinical area is kind of open and kind of has a track around it. And we actually redid the carpet and made a little black track around it.
Awesome.
So we have patients walk the track in the suit. And Cheryl got to the point where she could walk around the track twice, the whole thing. And they had gotten it down to where they were only supporting about 15% of her weight, down from 80.
Oh, and it's just,
it's a really cool
our
story.
older adult population can get so discouraged because I've got this, I've got that, but this is incredible. And it just gives people hope. And I think that's what we need is just hope,
right? And so that's kind of what we do every day in our office is we give people hope. I mean, my entire staff, we're big Christian people. So we, first thing we do at 7:50 in the morning is we get in a circle and pray. All in a circle. My whole staff does this, and everybody fights to get the traffic to get the work on time because they don't want to miss the prayer time. So, which is really cool because it sets the mood for the office the whole day. But that's what we do is we give people hope, and the suit has been fun because when you do this, their faces just glow, and they're doing things that they thought they might never do again. The other thing about this device that's really interesting, it is the only device of its kind that there are actually a couple of competitors. This is the only one that's FDA approved. This is a class 2 FDA approved device with 6 indications. So,
what are the indications?
The indications are it improves blood circulation, it re-educates muscles, it stimulates muscles for performance, maintaining or increasing range of motion, relaxation of muscle spasms, and retarding or preventing disuse atrophy.
So, which is what we saw with Cheryl.
A lot of these patients are affected by atrophy that a lot of patients that we put it on, but I had a lot of peripheral edema at the end of every day after drinking Starbucks and horrible things. And my feet would swell every day. They haven't swollen in almost a year. So I have little chicken legs at night. I can see all the veins and I couldn't before. So it increases circulation so much that a lot of these things that we kind of take for granted, they all kind of get better. It improves coordination, all those things. So they're still trying to figure out exactly how it works, but
we've tried to workshop some ideas on why we think what's happening. So, and it's hard because there's probably some things happening down to the cellular level that you just can't see.
So that's what we learned. We went to the A4M conference in Las Vegas, and Keith, who's the doctor of physical therapy that works for Neuro20. He's in charge of commercialization of the product. He went to a lecture where a doctor was speaking, and the doctor basically said that the foundation of all disease these days is mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondrial dysfunction is the origin of most disease processes. This leads to metabolic insufficiency, and if you can control metabolic insufficiency, you can help just about anything. So we think that we're activating cells down to the mitochondrial level. At least
makes sense.
At least in the muscle cells. At least in muscle cells. But the crazy thing is this device is the most effective thing I've ever seen for peripheral neuropathy. So what does a muscle stimulation suit have to do with skin nerves?
Well, you have the afferent and inferent like tracks. So somehow it's stimulating the afferent and efferent through this.
We think that those signals are going that electricity, that current's going all the way to the spinal cord and then coming back down. The other tracks that's helping sensation improve. So paresthesias get better, numbness, tingling gets better, peripheral pain gets better, skin pain gets better. Just all kinds of things. It's
well,
really
and there's some known science or understanding behind that too, where, let's take somebody who's had an ACL repair. And if you teach them, what quad sit is, right? Your legs are out straight in front of you and you're tightening your quadriceps muscle. So you push your knee down in the mattress. There is science behind if you contract the opposite leg. So if you do the quad sit on the left one, there is a nervous system, like an overlap or overflow around the spinal cord to actually help you figure out how to contract this one. So there is something about that where it hits the spinal cord and then you can get some additional information sent down. So that could be some of why we're seeing this too.
On the Neuro20 site, there's a video of a guy, and it was the first paraplegic they ever put it on.
I saw that one.
His story is, and he lives in McKinney. Actually, Dennis took the suit over there and put it on him. And the guy who's spotting him does one of those strongman competitions.
He definitely
all
looks
over
like
the
it.
world, which is crazy.
He's huge.
The guy's huge. And he's the spotter in the video. The story is this guy was leaving the military. He was getting out of the military in 2008, and they gave him a flu vaccine. And within 2 weeks, he was paralyzed from the waist down. No other known reason. Didn't walk again until he put the suit on. And what you see in the video is he gets up and he takes 3 steps. About the time I demoed the suit, this patient was already wearing it like 4 or 5 days a week, and he was at the point where he was doing 30 minutes on an elliptical. And this was less than 6 months later. So he went from not being able to get out of a wheelchair, paraplegic from the waist down, and now he's on an elliptical wearing the Neuro20 suit for 30 minutes doing the elliptical.
Wow.
Which was totally crazy.
Cool.
Another patient we put it on had Parkinson's disease, and she's interesting because she got a neural stimulator about 1.5 years ago, and she didn't like taking levodopa anymore because she didn't like the side effects. So she just kind of quit taking it. So she comes into the office. I convinced her to do the Neuro20 because after a year with the stimulator, she had deteriorated to the point where she was very slow. She's slow getting up and down from the scale. Her speech had slowed, etc. So I convinced her to try the suit. So she comes in to put the suit on, and I said, so before you got Parkinson's disease, what did you like to do? She goes, I was a jogger. I was like, okay. So we put the suit on her. 20 minutes later, Dennis has her jogging around that track in my office.
That's awesome.
Jogging. And she's smiling. She's having a great time. She's actually, they travel a lot. So when she's in town, she comes in and does a treatment here and there. And it seems to be doing a lot better.
Have they done studies?
It helps her tremors too.
Have they done? I know you guys do weekly. Have they done studies on the optimal frequency of doing this? Because I know from talking with Cheryl, it feels like a full body workout, right?
So are you tired after the?
She's pretty worn out for about a day or so after, but she's all a little deconditioned too. But I'm just curious if you find is there a difference between like once versus twice a week? Do they see anything with that?
So initially on these difficult patients, we thought once a week would be enough, and then. Talking with Keith and his experiences with it, we started to notice that after about 3 or 4 days, the difficult cases, they tend to forget. So there's regression after about 3 or 4 days. So now we're at the point where we think it's best to do it twice a week.
Yeah.
At least for a while. So recently I have another patient, stroke patient. This is going on right now. He had a stroke and with hemiparesis on the right side of his body, but only sensory. So whole right side of his body, face, upper extremity, lower extremity on the right side can't feel anything. So I think the suit might be able to help you. And I said, and he's like, how soon can you do it? I said, about probably tomorrow. So we put it on him the next day, and we've done 4 treatments in a much greater frequency, back to back, like 2 treatments twice a week for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he came in for the 3rd treatment this morning, and he was feeling some sensations like pinpricks and stuff on the right side of his body. Like it's already starting to wake it up again.
Yeah.
And I think his initial stroke was at the beginning of this month. It hadn't been that long.
Wow. Okay.
So one theory is after a stroke or something like that, you have to get them on it right away. The sooner the better after a stroke, the faster you're going to get them back, because the longer it goes on, then the brain starts to forget. There's the muscle memory. They lose that, then they get atrophy, then it's all downhill. So he's doing pretty well. The other thing I wanted to mention was there's a place for this in pre and post-op surgery. So my office manager's son dislocated his patella, and he was a Division III basketball player. So thought his career was over and all that stuff. So he actually came back from college early last spring, and we started treating. We knew he had to have surgery. So we started treating him with the suit, pre-treating him 3 times a week for 2 weeks prior to the surgery. And then post-op, we treated him 3 times a week for the next 4 months. And he started at a new college playing Division III basketball this fall, last fall. Oh, no, this spring.
Okay.
This spring. I'm sorry. The time flies.
Yeah.
So it was in January. So he's now playing Division III at a school starting in January of this year.
So
and his surgery was in May.
I have a patient that's having hip surgery in the next couple of weeks. So and he's young, he's just got some type of degenerative issue. But would he be a candidate?
Possibly. I believe that there's some hip indications there. What I don't have a real good feel for is what the severity of the disease is versus what kind of a disease it is, and then how severe it is might preclude him from using the suit. Like someone with end-stage osteoarthritis where it's bone on bone.
Right.
I kind of have my doubts how much the suit will help. But if it's just a labral tear, we might have a lot better success. So it just depends on what the injury is.
So what are some other conditions that the suit can treat?
We have used it for all kinds of things. We put it on a heart failure patient. We put it on a COPD patient. So they all seem to get better because we can control the parasympathetic nervous system with it. So it helps irritable bowel, anybody with functional bowel disorders, anybody with urinary retention, urinary incontinence. It tends to give them strength.
Is that because
the heart failure guy hadn't had a spontaneous erection in probably 10 years. And because we can fire up S3 with the glutes so much, S1 through S3 so much, he started getting spontaneous erections at night. And this is an 80-year-old man. This started freaking his wife out. So, anyway, so it started causing spontaneous erections. So anyway, so just all kinds of things. I mean, really the sky's the limit. But between this and the other modalities that we have in my office, we can address a lot of things.
That's awesome.
It makes me think of that movie, The Cocoon, where they all get in the water.
Right.
All get in their diving suits. They're ready to go.
So there's a lot of things that are up and coming that I think not only the public, but the government they're gradually opening up to these new technologies and things like that. Whereas everything's been big pharma so long that we don't really know any difference But
I
here
hope
you are.
that's changing.
Here you are with a non-invasive suit, no drugs, no needles, no surgery, and this thing can take people that can't walk and make them walk again.
Is there any precautions or contraindications with it?
Nothing we found.
Okay.
Getting in and out of the suit can be difficult for some of the stroke patients.
I see that.
So my staff does a real good job of helping them get in and out of it. You have to take all your clothes off before you put it on, so that each pad conducts to the muscles really well. The company's also developing a shirt that does all the way come down to the wrist, and they're developing pants that go all the way to the ankles.
So a two-part thing.
Yeah, so some people that have foot drop, peroneal neuropathy. So we're working on coming up with some pants that'll help that more. I did put it on somebody with post-op foot drop, and we could imagine it was helping her, but we weren't really getting much.
Got it.
So what we got is that we improved her coordination, I think some. Okay. But it didn't really help the foot drop itself. So
see, I have so many of my clients as a care manager, could benefit from this. And I'm so excited to hear about this and learn about it.
Just about anything. Anybody can benefit. A lot of the long COVID patients have developed POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And we've taken the suit and we've used it on these patients, and their symptoms go away within a couple of weeks.
I don't understand it.
Completely. So
it's fascinating.
We also treated, I've wrapped up. Well, I have a patient who became acutely anxious and depressed last spring, and we treated her with it 4 times and got her to the point where she's functional again. And using this and a couple of other things, she's almost symptom-free now.
So I have a client with severe anxiety and depression.
And I took her off her antidepressants.
Did you really?
Yes, I took her off all her antidepressants.
Before she tried the suit?
No, about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I got her off all the antidepressants. It's not something that we felt like we wanted to do long term. So
it's incredible.
Gosh, this
has been amazing. Yeah. I'm very fortunate. I get to see all this stuff live, but I want to introduce him to you so you can see it. Yeah.
By and watch.
Yeah.
But I would
Every
love
Tuesday,
to bring.
Well, come by and put it on.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It feels great. The lower frequencies feel like a shiatsu massage kind of thing. The upper frequencies, that's the parasympathetic that you're driving. Yeah. And the sympathetic feels like a TENS unit, but all over.
Stimulating at that point.
And so the general idea is you want to get the amperage up enough to where you feel it everywhere, but you're not contracting, where you're able to fully extend your muscles and stuff like that. You don't want to the point where you can't even move. But it strengthens every muscle in your body. I usually put it on about 3 times a week, and it's gotten my abdominal muscles are so thick now I can't suck in my gut anymore. So there's those types of things too.
That is great.
I mean, it's just it stimulates. You build muscle with it fast.
So how
I don't think my legs have ever been as strong as they are now.
How can our listeners get in touch with you?
So our website is thewellintegrativemedicine.med. So that's WELLINT med.com. And the name of my clinic is The Well Integrative Medicine in McKinney, Texas. And you can look us up. Neuro20's website is neuro20.com. Yep. So anybody can go on there and watch the videos that we've been talking about. A lot of these patients and things like this.
Only physician here.
Still to date, they have started some trials, actual clinical trials with grant money and things like that. They've gotten some IRB approvals and things like that to do it. Several of the major physical therapy research institutions.
That's great.
So one I think is Brooks on the East Coast. Okay, I can't remember what the other one is, but. So they're working on it. So, but I'm still.
But your anecdotal evidence of what you guys are seeing in your clinic is pretty strong.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been a practicing physician for 24 years, and the things that I've seen this suit do, I've never seen before in my career.
That's wild.
So
that's just amazing.
Or really thought was possible after with something so simple as a non-invasive full body EMS suit. So,
and people are going to ask, and I know you're a concierge private pay, but do you take Medicare or insurance?
No, we do not take Medicare or insurance. Medicare cannot send the bill in to try to get them to pay it. So Medicare can't do that, but private insurance companies, you can get a lot of people can get an out-of-network return. So they pay us, we give them the receipts, they go home, they self-file it, and quite a few of them get reimbursement. But essentially, we're a private pay clinic. We do have a LabCorp facility in our office that draws blood. The blood can be processed through LabCorp, through Medicare, or their insurance. So that part can go through insurance and stuff like that.
Yeah, you still have patients with insurance. They're just paying for
many patients with
membership
insurance,
concierge practice.
But I have patients who have been cash pay for years, even through the whole Obamacare thing, and they come in, but our philosophy is a little different. We try to spoil patients with the amount of customer service and the care that they've never seen or never thought possible anywhere else.
Yeah.
And concierge medicine gives us the time to spend with each patient to go the extra mile and deliver that customer service.
We're going to have you back because I know you do some other stuff within your clinic that we could learn from as well.
And growing all the time. So
this has been amazing. Thank you for your time.
Yes,
I know
ma'am.
it's so valuable and we appreciate it. And I'm going to come by and try on that suit.
You should.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks,
This is great information.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate
Great.
you.